All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a genuinely crucial management skill, and that is evaluating exactly how proposed projects and transactions are going to impact your key performance indicators, or your KPIs. We're moving way beyond just recording history here. We are stepping into the driver's seat to forecast the future. So if you want to make business decisions that actually move the needle in the right direction, you are absolutely in the right place.
So, you might be wondering, why exactly do managers need a crystal ball? Well, the truth is, human instinct kind of tells us to rely solely on historical data. We look at what happened last quarter to decide what we're going to do next quarter. But in dynamic business environments, that is literally like driving a car while only looking in the rearview mirror. Before you pull the trigger on a major business decision or a proposed transaction, you've got to look forward. You need a reliable way to project future business scenarios.
Okay, let's dive into this masterclass roadmap. We'll be hitting 6 key areas today. 1. The power of perspective analysis. 2. The 5-step evaluation process. 3. Analyzing a transaction scenario. 4. The math behind the ratios. 5. Factoring in qualitative impacts. And finally, 6. Acing your exam questions. Let's get to it. Section 1. The power of perspective analysis. Let's establish the fundamental why behind all of this. Why do we go through all the trouble of running these projections? It all boils down to this concept: perspective analysis. Basically, this is the practice of utilizing your data and risk management to project or forecast future business scenarios before taking any action. The absolute crucial point here is deriving the potential impacts on your KPIs so leaders know exactly what a transaction is going to do to the business's health before a single dollar ever leaves the bank account. It totally takes the guesswork out of corporate strategy. Moving right along to Section 2, the 5-step evaluation process. Let's see how this builds into a methodology you can actually use. We need a repeatable framework here. Here is the strict 5-step evaluation process straight from the source material, and I love how it seamlessly blends financial forecasting with those vital non-financial realities. Step 1. You identify the KPIs relevant to the business or project. Step 2. Outline your potential scenarios. Think best case and worst case, and assess the likelihood of each outcome. Step 3. Quantify those potential outcomes using financial forecasting. Step 4. Consider the qualitative factors that could affect the decision. And finally, Step 5. Calculate the net impact on each identified KPI and compare it right back to your previous year benchmarks. It is just a beautifully logical flow.
Section 3. Scenario: Analyzing a transaction. Now, let's shift from theory over to practice and introduce a specific mini-scenario to serve as our sandbox for the rest of this explainer.
Consider this classic scenario. A company is proposing a transaction where they pay off a current liability using current assets. For example, using cash to pay down a short-term accounts payable. Now, I want you to use dual-track thinking here. We've got to balance the hard financial impact, like changes to our liquidity ratios, against the qualitative impact, like how draining our cash might affect our regulatory compliance or our customer satisfaction. Section 4. The math behind the ratios. Let's tackle the financial side first. This brings us to the most technically dense, but honestly the most fascinating part of our explainer. Stay focused with me here, because understanding these mechanics gives you a massive advantage. Think about it. When you pay a current liability with a current asset, you are decreasing both your total current assets, which is the numerator, and your total current liabilities, the denominator, by the exact same monetary amount. But, and this is a huge mechanical quirk, an equal decrease to the top and bottom numbers does not mean the ratio stays the same. How the ratio reacts actually depends entirely on your starting point. And this brilliantly illustrates that rule. If your starting ratio is less than 1.0, an equal decrease actually makes the ratio go down. If it's exactly 1.0, there is no effect. And if it's greater than 1.0, an equal decrease makes the ratio go up. Paying a liability ripples through the firm's liquidity entirely differently depending on where the firm's ratio started. Let's actually look at the numbers to prove it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the math for a firm starting with poor liquidity. Let's say your ratio is 3/4, right? That is 0.75, which is less than 1.0. If we decrease both the top and the bottom by 1, the math becomes 2/3. 2/3 is roughly 0.66, so our ratio decreased from 0.75 to 0.66. If you start with a ratio of less than 1.0, paying off a liability actually makes the firm look even less liquid. Moving to the middle case. Say your ratio is exactly 4/4, which is just 1.0.
Subtract 1 from the top and bottom, and you get 3 over 3, which is still 1.0. Starting exactly at 1.0 is literally the only time an equal decrease results in absolutely no change to the ratio's overall value.
But here is the totally counterintuitive outcome. Let's say your firm is highly liquid, with a ratio of 4 over 3. That's 1.33. Subtract 1 from both the top and the bottom, and you get 3 over 2, which is 1.5. The ratio actually went up. It's kind of like accounting magic. A transaction that causes equal changes in the numerator and denominator actually has a proportionally greater effect on the denominator when the starting ratio is over 1.0. So spending cash to pay a liability here makes you look even more liquid on paper.
Section 5. Factoring in qualitative impacts. Let's zoom back out to the big picture for a second. We've mastered the math, but as future leaders and managers, you know perfectly well that not everything is just a math problem on a spreadsheet. Remember step 4 in our process? You have to evaluate the transaction against non-financial KPIs. Sure, paying down that debt might have bumped your current ratio up to 1.5, making you look great on paper. But what did draining that cash actually do to your operations? If you lack the cash to maintain operating readiness, it might completely hurt your competitive advantages. If you can't fund prompt delivery or quality control, your customer satisfaction could tank. You have got to measure both sides of the coin. Section 6. Acing your exam questions. Let's transition to our final payoff, specifically targeting those of you looking to turn this knowledge into test points and real-world career advancements. I really want to highlight this quote directly from the source material. Understanding how ratios change helps accountants understand the effects of proposed transactions. This is your ultimate exam strategy. Analysis and decision-making questions are going to heavily test your ability to predict these exact ripple effects. They're going to give you a starting ratio, propose a transaction, and ask you what happens next. And now, you know exactly how to answer.
We've covered a ton of ground today, from the 5 steps of prospective analysis to the kind of counterintuitive math behind liquidity ratios. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. How will your next business decision balance the hard financial math with the unwritten, non-financial reality? Keep that dual-track framework in mind, and you won't just be recording business history, you'll be actively shaping its success. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.